Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be officially the first episode of Car Talk, where we're going to be talking about fights and boxing and UFC as we're driving. So we're going to talk about what happened this weekend with Pereira and Prochaska and Aspinall and Pavlovich. Obviously, if I'm looking away and doing things, it's because obviously I'm driving, got to be aware, stay safe. But let's talk about Aspinall and Pavlovich first. Now, obviously, going into the fight, Aspinall, obviously, both of them have come off pretty much no training camp, like a week and a half, maybe a training camp. Aspinall, obviously, is a really good ground game, overall round, like all round fighter. He's pretty good, so I favoured Aspinall in this, but obviously, as people are saying, Sergey Pavlovich is like the white Francis Ngannou, which is a bit of a stretch, but the guy does have some serious power in them hands, man. And if you're an Aspinall fan, and if you're a fan of anybody he's fighting, like you really got to be on your edge of your seat the whole time because one punch can change the fight. And you saw in the fight as well, it hit Aspinall and he was like, fucking hell. And obviously, like the commentator said, it put Aspinall on notice. When 20 seconds later, 20, 30 seconds later, he was out. And obviously, Aspinall won the match. And I think this is a signifying for the next heavyweight champion um, of the world in the UFC. And I think the next reigning undefeated champion. So, yeah, obviously, last we had Francis Ngannou, before that, Stipe. And I think Aspinall's the next one. The best thing about it is obviously he's British. Me being British myself, I can't help but support and get behind Aspinall, wish him the best of luck. And I think he's an absolutely amazing fighter. I do think, obviously, there are things he can work on. His defense is something he can definitely work on. His head movement is good, but it's very awkward. It's like very shouldery, and it's needs a bit of work. But he's got the most skills. He's got the majority of skills he needs to be a really really good force to be reckoned with. Now on to Pereira versus Prochaska. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Before this fight, I was hyping it up to everybody, like even my nan. Like, I've been getting my nan into UFC to watch it, and even she was excited for it. So that just shows you how much of like a weirdly interesting fight this is. No matter who is watching it, like it's gonna be a good fight either way. But obviously, going into this, I was super conflicted because I really love both Prochaska and Pereira. I think both of them are extremely good for the sport, really good role models. Obviously, their stories are very good as well, especially Pereira's, where he come from, where he's going, things he's achieved in a really short space of time. I'm very, very, very happy for Pereira. But the fight, man, like I knew it was going to deliver no matter what, whether it was a first round knockout or a 5 round war. You knew from the first bell, like Pereira landed that hard calf kick, but obviously Prochaska started putting the pressure on a little bit. I think Prochaska just slightly, and I mean very, very slightly, edged the first round in my opinion. But obviously Pereira, being Pereira, you can never count this man out no matter what happens. And obviously in the second round, Prochaska was lightly peppering Pereira a little bit. Obviously, he was hitting him with some good shots, putting him on the back foot a little bit. And obviously, at times I was a little worried because I'm a big Pereira fan and I slightly wanted him to win over Prochaska. So obviously, I was like a bit concerned. But when Jerry started coming into range and coming down with his hands low, and like I must turn this off because I'm going to some main roads, but like going into range, like with his hands low, sort of not recklessly, but not sort of thinking about what's coming back. And then I was just like, oh man, it's not going to last long. And obviously, what happened a couple seconds later, Pereira pretty much flatlined him. I know people, I mean, I said it was an early stoppage, to be honest, which I still think it is. But you can't argue when the guy's taking 12, 13, 14 unanswered elbows to the side of the head and the back of the head, man. He wasn't in a great position anyway. Like, I think that was only going one way, so you can kind of see it that it's going to be a Pereira stoppage regardless, whether it's 6 or 10 more elbows. Like, I don't think Prochaska was going to come back after that because Pereira's a murderous finisher, and I think even if he was, even if the ref allowed it to go on, and Prochaska got back to his feet, wouldn't have seen him winning that fight. He probably would have got his leg kicked underneath him. And I've seen somebody say that that Prochaska would have needed like a year out to recover from the leg kicks, which is probably true because the leg kicks are brutal from Pereira. But yeah, I mean, overall, the card itself, I've just got to turn the light off because I'm going past an ambulance. The card itself was really good. I watched quite a few of the undercard fights. I watched Mackenzie Dern versus Andrade, and obviously everybody wanted Dern to win, just strict of appearance, I'm pretty sure. Every single lad under the sun wanted Mackenzie Dern to win, but I'm going to be honest, she's not a great striker. Coming from a boxing background myself, watching her boxing it's painful to watch. Like, she really, really didn't know what she was doing. When Andrade was putting under pressure, she was just like, she seemed so vulnerable. She didn't really look like she knew what she was doing on the feet. And I know she's a jiu-jitsu specialist and stuff like that, but I'm going to be honest, man, people count out the boxing and the boxing skills, man. As you've seen from Sean Strickland, it doesn't matter who you're in there with, man. If you've got some good boxing fundamentals, man, and a good understanding of how to block and mitigate strikers like kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters, man, you've got a good chance of winning them fights, man. But yeah, like I said, the card overall was a really good success. I really enjoyed watching it. I showed my nan the majority of the fights as well. So yeah, and then when my 70-year-old nan enjoys the UFC fights, which she never would have watched before. It was a good card, man. It was enjoyable, and I'm very proud. I'm very happy to say I'm a UFC fan. I think, even though this year for boxing has been really good and there's been some really good fights, I think in terms of the best fighting, the best, like obviously you had Tank and Garcia, which was a good fight, but it weren't like your elite. It weren't like a Tank versus Lomachenko or a Tank versus Haney, which everybody wants to see. But obviously Spence and Crawford happened, which was obviously a massive W for boxing, and obviously Haney versus Lomachenko was an amazing fight. But the UFC, man, are putting on top pound for pound fights like almost monthly. Like your top elite fighters are fighting like every other month, man. Pereira's fought 3 times this year, I think, and even though he got knocked out by Izzy, man, I mean, it's hard to deny Pereira's a beast, man, and that he can't go on to reign over the light heavyweight division, man, and become an absolute superstar and one of the all-time greats. I mean, in terms of accolades and accomplishments, Pereira's already got enough for the all-time great conversation. It's just in terms of title defenses. Now, if you can get 6, the Prochaska rematch is probably not going to happen, but if you get 5 or 6 good title defenses under his belt, man, you could talk about him being the greatest of all time. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue that if he got 5 or 6 defenses, that he couldn't be one of the greatest, like one of the top 10 of all time, man. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that being said, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and take care.